Good morning. I'm Edward Nelson Fell, and with me is my wife, Ann. Ann and I purchased the land that Fellsmere is situated on in March 1910 and started developing the town of Fellsmere in 1911. I was born in New Zealand, which became the first self-governing nation in the world in 1893 to grant women the right to vote.
It wasn't until 27 years later, in 1920, before the United States ratified the 19th Amendment, known as the Woman's Suffrage Amendment. Suffrage meaning the right to vote in political elections. We wanted Fellsmere to be a progressive, forward-thinking town.
Fellsmere was the first master plan community in Indian River County, which was then St. Lucie County in 1910. It had the first water system, power plant, telephone system, bank, concrete sidewalks, and paved roads.
Fellsmere also had the first masonry school building, library building, public swimming pool, and movie theater, all within 6 years from the start of its development. Fellsmere had a choral society, music club, operatic society, drama club, tennis club, Boy Scouts, and Campfire Girls. By 1915, Fellsmere had a population of about 800 people. The time was right for Fellsmere to incorporate into a town. The Fellsmere Farms Company hired the prominent attorney Patrick Van Agnew of Kissimmee, who later married our oldest daughter, Marion, to draft the charter of the town to be sent to the Florida legislature for approval.
Patrick and I held a meeting in February 1915 in the Dixie Playhouse, the largest building in Fellsmere, located on the west side of Broadway, north of New York Avenue. The Dixie Playhouse could easily seat 500 people. It was at this meeting that the men and women of Fellsmere voted to accept the Articles of Incorporation, which led to the establishment of the first incorporated city in what is now Indian River County, which was established in 1925.
By unanimous vote, the citizens accepted the charter, which included a unique proposal that granted women the full and equal voting privilege in Fellsmere's elections.
The Articles of Incorporation, including the charter, were sent to the Florida legislature for approval. Local bills of little importance then rarely received close examination from the state legislatures.
As a result, no one legislator seemed to notice the full and equal suffrage provision for Fellsmere women in the bill. Consequently, Florida Governor Park Trammell signed the act that incorporated the town of Fellsmere on April 29, 1915, not knowing that he gave his seal of approval in granting the first city in all of Florida the right for women to vote in municipal elections. On June 19, 1915, Mrs. Zana M. Dreyer, wife of William Dreyer, sales director of the Fellsmere Farms Company, became the first woman to cast a ballot in a Fellsmere election. Not only was her ballot of historical significance in Fellsmere, but in all of Florida, since no other city in Florida at the time had an equal voting provision in their charters. Even beyond Florida, Zana Dreyer's ballot took on national significance because no other city south of the Mason-Dixon line had granted women suffrage.
The Mason-Dixon line along the southern Pennsylvania border was surveyed between 1763 and 1767 by Charles Mason and Jeremiah Dixon. It later symbolized the line of demarcation between the North and the South.
Little did Zana Dreyer realize the impact her vote meant for the women's suffrage movement in the United States. It is of interest to note that although the city of Fellsmere led the way to women's equal voting rights in the South, the state of Florida itself did not ratify the 19th Amendment until May 13, 1969. This was approximately 54 years after Zana Dreyer cast her ballot. Mississippi was the last state to ratify the 19th Amendment on March 22, 1984. having rejected it 64 years earlier on March 29, 1920. In fact, the majority of Southern states didn't ratify the Woman's Suffrage Amendment until after 1952, 32 years after 36 states had ratified the amendment. Section 1 of the 19th Amendment, as ratified, reads, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex."
The March 8, 1916 edition of the Fellsmere Tribune reported that, quote, "The population of Fellsmere is of high type of intelligence with lofty ideals and wise execution. Progressive in all things, perhaps no better indication of the fact may be given that the unanimous vote of the town granting unrestricted suffrage to women," end quote. This verbiage can be seen today in the text of the historical marker erected in 2004 behind me and located 275 feet south of South Carolina Avenue on the west side of Broadway in the city of Fellsmere.
Sponsored by the National Organization for Women, Indian River, and the Florida Department of State, the marker stands as a testimony that the tiny community of Fellsmere in Indian River County was first and foremost in granting women's suffrage in Florida and in the South long before many of the southern states ratified the 19th Amendment.
If you would like to know more about the history of women's suffrage in Fellsmere, download the mobile app by scanning the QR code to your smartphone or tablet. You can also use the city's website address as shown on the walking tour brochure.